We're back.
Hello.
This is the Light Gate, and I'm going to do our call letters real quick. This is the Light Gate. We are coming to you from the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM in the fabulous city of New Orleans. We're also coming to you from the UFO Paranormal Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Roku, Tumblr, YouTube, Facebook, and many, many other platforms. Our Roku people cannot see us, they can hear us, so we will describe everything to you to the best of our ability. Yay! All right. Hi, everybody.
Okay, I'm not sure. Should we start over completely?
No, I just did it. We're on. We're going.
I mean, in terms of the bio, did any of that go out?
No, it's no. So
all right. Well, I'll just repeat the bio.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, technical difficulties tonight, but super glad to see you all here. Hold on, let me make sure I've got your chat going on. There we are. Okay. Yeah. All right, you guys. I hope you can find us. There's Dana. Dana's in there. So hopefully you guys can join us back in chat. Sorry, there were some technical difficulties there. But our guest tonight is Rafael Lugo. Lugo. I am a little bit flustered here. Okay. Our guest tonight is Rafael Lugo. And he is a contactee, speaker, documentarian, podcaster, and hip hop artist. Rafael is a Bronx, New York native hip hop artist with a lifetime of contact experiences with non-human entities. He's a contactee, speaker, documentarian, podcaster, and since the early age of 5, he has been visited by many different types of ETs, including greys, tall greys, insectoid mantis beings, and hybrid children. Although he's not certain why he is being visited, Rafael strongly believes he is part of what some would call the hybridization program. Rafael is an artist named Skits, the PLK, Prophet Lucid King, and has gone from gangster rap to what he calls, quote, the high vibrational, multi-dimensional hip hop. That's awesome, Rafael. Let's see. Using his abilities to make positive music is now his main medium of educating the masses about his contact with our family from the stars. The music conveys a knowledge of peace, love, and positivity, while at the same time enlightening those who listen with the knowledge handed down from the stars. For the last couple of years now, he has been doing everything in his power to further educate the people in a more personal way with a weekly podcast called The Hybrid Podcast and a Facebook group called CE5ET Connection, calling all hybrids. And is currently in the post-production stages of a mini documentary about his contact experiences, and I believe also writing a book. I might be wrong about that, but he will let us know. He's currently in the post-production stages of a mini documentary about his contact experiences. Yes, all of this is for a mission sharing with others the truth about our star family. And as Rafael says, these are truly wise words. Being a contactee can be lonely if one doesn't find their tribe. So start looking. All right, Rafael, now I'm just going to unmute you. And there.
Hello.
Made it. That was a bit of one of our worst technical difficulties yet. But
it is totally cool. I saw nothing. I am happy. We are good.
Very cool. So yeah, I mean, you were just starting to dive into some really cool stuff. So I'm so sorry we got interrupted. But as you know,
No
these
worries.
happen. And it looks like our chat is back and filling up with all our friends. So that is awesome. And yeah, so we usually like to start the show with diving into the very beginning of how this person got involved in this field, their early experiences, and their whole interesting pathway to where they are today. And I know yours has taken many twists and turns. So yeah,
sure.
age 5, that is not uncommon. So I'm really curious to hear what your experiences were at that very young age.
For sure. I'll be super happy to share that with you guys. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for all you do with all the work that both of you have put out and really shared with the public. And I just want to give you guys your flowers and let you know I really
Oh,
do appreciate all the work you do for the
thank you.
community. I'm so honored to be on here and have this conversation with you guys
Our
right now.
honor.
So
Very pleasure. Yes.
let's just say that. All right. So let's start off by saying that a lot of my experiences in the beginning, because I didn't have the proper knowledge and the knowing of what was happening to me, were a little bit fearful for me because obviously I just didn't know what was going on. Now, looking back, I totally understand the steps that were needed to be taken for me to be in the position that I am right now, to be sharing my story and, helping others get a little bit more comfortable with the connection that we have with our families from the stars. And I would have to say that in the beginning, there was always a lot of fear. Like I had weird fears out of nowhere. Like if I was laying down and the closet door was just slightly open with no light on the other side, I would always feel like, whoa, there's something staring at me from the other side. Or if the window was open with the blinds at night and there was nothing but darkness on the other side, I always felt like there was something piercing or peering from the other side. So at an early age, from 5, all of my earlier childhood years, I've always been kind of like just scared of the dark, scared to sleep alone, couldn't really be alone when it came to like sleeping or resting in any way, shape, or form. So my mother was forced to put a twin size bed inside of her own bedroom. Even though we had the space for me to have my own room, I just could never sleep in there. I would always just sleep in between them anyway. So they just figured, you know what, let's just help them by having this twin size bed, and then eventually we can move them out of here. As embarrassing as that is to even say, I mention it so that way others that might be suffering with the same kind of emotions can find that there's similarities out there and they don't got to feel so bad. So it is a little embarrassing for me to know that I've been scared of the dark. And even to this day, every now and then I need a little light on, but it is what it is. For the sake of telling the truth, we're going to tell all the truth, right? So I'm laying down in my twin size bed, and I had this little technique that I would use where I would wiggle my toes or try to move my fingers in a way before I opened my eyes if I ever felt as if there was something in the room with me or staring at me in any way, shape, or form. So on this particular night, I'm laying down in bed, super young. I get a feeling in the middle of the night there's something staring at me. And I knew when I opened my eyes, I was going to see something I didn't want to see. So I just immediately went to go wiggle my toes or move around my fingers. And I noticed that I couldn't. I was completely paralyzed, in a state of just complete paralyzed. So I could just move my jaw a little bit, maybe, and my eyes. So I proceeded to open my eyes just to see what was in front of me. And at the foot of my bed, what I saw was the traditional gray: big bulbous head, almond eyes, really black, kind of angled upwards a little bit, a small nasal passage to two holes where the nostril would be, kind of a small slit where the mouth would be, two indentations where the ears would be. And although the face was kind of smooth, there was wrinkles here and there on the closeness of the face. The
Now,
neck was
is that the picture that you sent us? The is that the one you're talking about?
so the picture that I sent you of the long neck being was from another occasion,
Oh,
but the
okay.
picture that I sent you about like that person in bed and those three beings kind of standing at the foot of the bed was the closest depiction that I could find online
Oh,
to
okay.
what
I'll bring that
I
one up then.
yeah. So once I noticed that this being was at the foot of my bed, I started to panic, of course. And mommy, help me, try to like scream for my mother. But my mother couldn't hear me at all, couldn't hear none of my screams. My mouth couldn't really move. Once I noticed the being, I looked a little bit beyond the being, like a little bit past it, behind it. And you would be able to see, yeah, that's still looking at that photo. It's like, oof. And looking at the door behind the being, because the door was like right at the foot of my bed, I could see another being another gray standing at the foot, like in the hallway, and then another being behind him. So there was like three beings altogether. And I start hearing in my head, in my own voice, by the way, we're not here to hurt you. Everything's going to be okay. I'm thinking that at that age, they use my own voice to comfort me a little bit. If I were to hear a foreign voice, maybe that would scare me a little bit more. So I'm thinking maybe the reason why they used my own voice in telling me everything was going to be okay in my own mind, which would be the first time I've ever experienced anything telepathic. And I kind of almost felt it vibrating in my body, like the voice vibrated my bones in a way. So it was very vibrational as well as mental. And I still had the sense of fear, and it started coming towards me. Now, while it's coming towards me, the weird thing about that is it wasn't steps. It was not walking. It was almost floating towards me. The best way to describe the way it was moving was, if you see a Spike Lee film, he has like a traditional shot that he does where the actor is just moving without no motion, and everything around him or her is kind of like going in the same way. I kind of had this kind of like tractor beam looking at this being's eyes as it's slowly moving towards me, and it almost got close enough to Eskimo kiss me, and like almost nose to nose, and then I automatically kind of blacked out and it was morning. In doing my research, I figured out that what I assumed it was doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, was connecting in a way to my neural pathways through my eyes in a way, and kind of figuring out what I had, memory wise or whatever it was doing. I know that while it was staring at me, it was going through my mental Rolodex. So it was it was a real legit connection that I had with this being when it was really close to me. I felt like, now knowing what I know, I wish I could have just kissed him on the nose, like, I love you. But at that time, it was I was scared.
In a way you did. It's the Gray's way to greet is to touch foreheads, and they'll huff you, they'll breathe in deeply, and they'll tap. In other words, they greet you mentally, and you connect, deeply connect. And you probably were said, it's okay, sleep. And
that's sounds about right. It just came so close where it was like, it felt like it wanted to rub his nose on me, but it would make sense if it was forehead to forehead, they would be that close. So yeah, that makes sense.
It's also really familiar when you said, fear of closets, because they come out of the closet. I think they use that as a way to get in and out of people's rooms, because not likely someone's going to be standing in there.
I totally agree.
I hear it so often. It's amazing. People are like, I cannot sleep. I could not sleep with that closet door opened.
I just call it weird fears. It's a weird fear because I think in my head, why would I be scared? I know it's just closing there. It's like, there's nothing in there. But for some reason, that crack, I always feel like there's something just always like about to peer his head out of the darkness. Okay. And it's just, I don't know. It's just.
See, I'm the weird kid. I pushed all my clothes to one side, put my pillows in the closet. I got in and shut the door and waited for them.
Nice.
That's my favorite place to go.
Oh, man.
I was always crawling in the closet.
Yeah. The thing that I like to talk about a lot is, I think we spoke about this on the phone. So for those that don't know, I heard your guys' story on aliens, UFOs, and ghost stories not too long ago. And I was super compelled to, like, once I heard Dolly's story and the book and what you guys were talking about, I was like, wow, we have so many similarities. So I was like, I need to just reach out and like call, just humbly just reach out and call. And when we spoke, I was talking about how when other people explain going through solid objects, I tend to have a different experience of that. So when I try to explain to people, like, okay, so they lift me up out of my bed, they're not touching me, I'm kind of like just floating, and I can kind of like see my feet start going through the wall. I can see my waist start going through the wall. And once it gets to like my mouth and my nose, I can physically like taste the plaster on the way through. I can smell the fabric of the wall. As I'm going through the tree branches in the light in the UFO, I can taste the leaves in my mouth as they're passing through my skull out of my neck.
I've never heard anyone describe that.
So yes, wow. So when I describe that to other people, they go, well, for me, the wall just kind of disappears and there's like a hole there and you walk through it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, for me, it's like they keep the wall there and I could. So I was trying to explain what is the difference in techniques. I don't get that at all. But is that
Well,
common? Is that something you
yes,
heard?
it is. Preston, I've never said this to you because I had too much to tell you. But you know how I like to crunch leaves and smell them? It reminds me of going through trees. Why I always smell everything in my environment. I'm always huffing everything. It's because that's what I'm used to smelling when I go through. You can
Wow.
actually, all your senses are in play, even though you've gone into an interdimensional uh, beam, I guess is what you could call
Wow,
it.
that's
And yeah,
fascinating.
yeah,
One
even smell.
one kid, he described how he loved it because he would stop and he'd get to see all the little things inside the wall that he couldn't normally
Yes,
see. Like,
yeah,
wow. And he's like,
Yeah.
no,
yeah,
we can't stop here. We have to keep going.
right,
Yeah.
Because he
yeah.
wanted to stop. He's like, let's just stay here. No.
Another, not to cut you off, but I'm trying to like get as many of the things, because like I said, I have a lot of fragmented memories, so I like to like express a lot of the things that I've encountered that I still kind of even myself don't really understand. So another part of my earlier years, I would have to say maybe my earlier teens, maybe my early 20s, let's just say late
Yeah.
teens, early 20s. I'm laying down on my sofa and nobody's home and it's midday and I'm kind of like just taking a nap. And I'm looking at my ceiling fan, and then all of a sudden I'm falling out. I fall asleep, and I get that urge again. Hey, wiggle your toes, because when you open your eyes, there's going to be something you ain't gonna want to see. So I go wiggling my toes. I couldn't wiggle my toes. So when I open my eyes, the ceiling fan is gone. And now there's this just hole in where the ceiling fan would be, but it's almost like the best way I can explain it is like black goo, like venom. Like I don't know how else to explain it, but it looked almost like just a black gooey substance that ended up. I can see on the other side of whatever the darkness was of this gooey substance, there was a gray, and it was kind of staring at me while I was sleeping. And would it notice that I noticed it? It was kind of like this feeling of, oh my God, it's looking at me, staring at it. And it kind of like pulled his little gray head out of the darkness of this goo, and the goo just kind of like sucked into where the ceiling fan's electricity thing was and disappeared. And the minute the goo went away, I snapped out of whatever paralyzed state that I was in. And I've never, for the life of me, can explain properly. Like, to me, it felt like it made a porthole in my ceiling
It's a
from maybe.
bilocation window. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking it wasn't like a UFO was floating above my house
No, it
and it made
wasn't.
a hole. It
No,
was like it was completely somewhere else. This being
right.
was completely in another
Yeah.
space and time, and it still wanted to pierce through. And I saw
Yeah.
the window in which it was piercing through.
Right.
And I've never been able to express that to anybody that can explain it.
What's so interesting to me is that you surprised it in a way because
Yeah, you did.
I've heard that
Nice.
before too.
It got nervous,
Hey,
like
you
it
can
was
see
just
me.
like analyzing me, and then I was just like, dude,
Yeah.
and he's like, dude, oh no.
That is so funny. Yeah, I've heard that before. Like, oh my God, this person's awake. They see us.
Bye. Oh,
So that's cool.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I've never heard I've never heard anybody explain it that way, like a bilocation window. I've never, like, that's interesting to me.
Yeah. They have abilities that far and exceed ours. Okay. We're capable of remote viewing. Okay. They take it up about 200 notches from that, and they can actually create a window between them and you anywhere in the universe, wherever you are. And it's not really a black goo. It's a mirror minus the reflection. Okay. And they open it up. It's a bilocation window, and they're there and you're here, and you can see each other through that window. And it's very dark like space. Okay.
100%. Yeah. The only reason why I call it goo is because the edges of it looked like it was alive in a way, like it
Yeah.
was just moving in a way.
It's
So I
undulating.
was,
Yes. It
so
undulates.
I call it goo because it just, the best thing I could describe it is like just how goop would move.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, would
Was
you
that
like to
scary at
hear?
all? I mean, at that time?
at that time completely fearful. So it wasn't until I met Miss Denise Stoner. So what happened was during these experiences, I was raised highly religious. So I'm not knocking in any way, shape, or form anybody's path to get through their faith or whatever, because I respect all religions. But in the religion that I was raised in, whenever I would try to explain it to a family member, like my parents or my sisters, it would automatically be demonic. Like it's either a demon or I'm having bad dreams. So that was what I considered to be like the dark time in my experience. A lot of people speak about how beautiful the process is to like speaking with these ETs and having the honor to communicate with these ETs, but a lot of people do not talk about the work that it takes for some people to actually get to the point when they're understanding what's actually happening in the process. So because of my upbringing, whenever I would explain it to my mother, and since it was always going to be something demonic, and also I don't blame her for the way she viewed it, because she just didn't have the knowledge that we have today at the time. It was just what she knew. So she was doing the best with the information that she had.
Yeah, I have
So,
a case
and
just like that. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, please do.
this guy in New York had the same exact thing. These figures were coming out of his closet. They'd come back in, and he'd be like, "Oh," told his mom. So he was also from a very religious family, raised religious. She's like, "It's demonic." They brought over the pastor, blessed him, blessed the
Mhm.
house. He's like, "Mom,
Yeah.
it's the ET people, it's the space people." And she's like, "No, no, 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 no. You don't understand." It's like, "No, you don't understand."
Yeah, no, and then what ends up happening in those situations, and I can speak from experience, is you end up having this sense of paranoia that, oh my God, what if they're white? What if every night I'm being chased by demonic forces? Even though it doesn't correlate, because you're not being hurt, injured is usually a loving experience. At least from what I remember, I never remember anything was done forcefully. Even though I was put under a hypnotic state, I always had this feeling in my heart, deep down in my soul, on a very cellular level, that it's for their safety, not for mine. Like they're
Wow.
paralyzing me because they don't want to get hurt. I
You hit
might
the
get
nail on
scared.
the head. Yep,
Yeah,
that's
so
exactly
Yeah.
so
why.
I might get
No kidding.
scared off of
Yeah,
something and I break their little arms by
yeah,
accident. So they're doing it
Which has
more.
happened, by the way.
yes.
Yeah, so it's like I'm now understanding why is there. So the paralyzed, when I didn't know what was going on, was more like, oh my God, they're taking over my body. I'm possessed. It is what it is. So I was really like hiding knives around my house in every room. Like I would hide a little knife in my living room, hide a little knife, because anywhere that they would paralyze me, I wanted to have the option to defend myself. And then I remember seeing this documentary. I forget the name of this documentary, and it always burns me in my mind. But I remember seeing this documentary, and just every experiencer in there was talking about my life. And I was like, oh my God, this is the first time that people are actually talking about what I'm experiencing, and they're not saying that it's demonic. And so I ended up just there was like a psychiatrist on there. I ended up finding his name and looking him up on Google, and I just called him like
Wow.
with tears in my eyes, and was just like,
Oh,
call him. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to get an answering machine. I'm going to get a secretary. Maybe I can book an appointment, get an email or something. And the actual psychiatrist person was the one that picked up the phone. And I
Wow.
got really flustered, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't, but, and he was like, okay, listen, take a breath and start from the beginning. So I told him everything. It was just like, it came out of my mouth like just vomiting. I was just vomiting every experience I've ever had out of my mouth. I just couldn't stop telling him. And then he was like, listen, there's a lot of things that you're saying that you can't find online. There's a lot of ways that you're explaining it that I can tell myself that you're not like researching this and telling it. Is it okay if I can pass your story on to a friend of mine? He
Cool.
passed that story on to Denise Stoner. So I'm thinking, once again, hang up the phone. I'm going to get a call in a week. In 2 hours, I get an email. and she's like, "Hello, my name is Miss Denise Stoner. Here's my phone number. I would love to speak to you more about your experiences if you
So
don't
when
mind."
was this? Was this as an adult? And
This was in my earlier, yeah, this was in the beginning stages, like early 20s, like right around the time when I had that porthole. So from the early stages of 5 to 20s, it was happening to me, but always fearful. Never really
what were you thinking?
like
Had you connected it to the UFO phenomenon at this?
um
Before all this?
when I saw the documentary, I was like, yeah, now I know
That
for a
was
fact that it's not demonic. And I kind of started seeing little things here and there as I was being raised, but being a little bit of a mama's boy and really wanting
Mm.
to I kind of believed my mom.
Right.
And
Well, can we
and
back up just a little bit?
yes, please go ahead, please
Because
do.
I'm
I tend to
curious.
ramble, so please,
No,
please do.
no. This is awesome. This is exactly how I love to do our show. To provide insights from our own experience, me incessantly questioning the witness to find little details. I'm just so curious because when someone has contact at age 5, it kind of changes the pathway of their life. And I'm thinking, what were you interested in? Were you, did you change it all? Like, were you fascinated with this, science fiction,
Always.
stars, or
So the weirdness of it is always been a fan of science fiction, but I would in the earlier stages when I used to look up at the stars, I would get anxiety if I had blinders on and I can only see the stars, I would get anxiety. Like I would just be like, "Oh my God, I'm floating in space." For some reason, I always felt as if I was floating in space. And another thing which has always been funny to me, I would look at Orion's belt like I was from there. Like I kept on looking at Orion's belt, even as a child. And I
Golly.
would just be like,
Did
I
you
am
ever have a feeling that you wanted them to come get you?
all the time. I would
Yeah,
tell my mother sometimes, like, why do I feel so hard? Like,
right,
I would tell people, like, even to this day, when I move my hands like this, right, in the air, I can feel the solids that are in the air. And I try
right,
to explain
right.
that to people.
You're
Like,
already
I,
very psychic. You were developing very early. They knew it, and you started
okay.
having
Wow.
experiences. What I find interesting is that the Greys, the tall Greys, are from Orion's, the systems in Orion, and I got a feeling you've been there. Because the only people who feel this way are the ones that have gone, they've been picked up, and you're remembering that you need to go back, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
100%. It's
yeah,
just this longing, and I always
yeah,
felt like the star was going to get bigger on me
yeah,
and just be engulf me. Like I always felt
right.
like one of the stars was just going to be on
That
top
was
of me
going
at
to
one
the
point.
planet. That's going to the planet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that
They,
happened to you and it's in
they
your
have a huge
subconscious.
star. Yeah.
Oh wow,
And that's
that's
Wow.
riding
oh
in. Yeah. That's
That is
exactly
that
it.
amazing.
makes so much sense because I used to
Yeah.
tell my wife all the time, like I
Yeah.
believe. Excuse me, hold on, because I have
Yeah.
to cough. Let me. I used to tell my wife all the time, I truly believe that you're like an angelic being, like a person of light, like from the Pleiades or something. You're definitely not from Orion. You're not from my neck of the woods. That's for sure. And she would laugh, but it's for some reason it always just felt real to me. And
Yeah.
when it came to the solids in my hand, what I would notice is even growing up, lights would go nuts around me. So if
Yes.
if you have light bulbs in my
Right.
bathroom, per se, I have a vanity mirror and there's 4 light bulbs. I could put fresh ones in and only
Yeah.
one will
I'm in
work
the
in 2
process
days.
of knocking every light out in our house right now. And somebody who lives with me is going, why is this happening?
There's actually
They're
a
all
time.
innocent. Well, can't explain it to you.
That's absolutely a
Yeah.
symptom
Yeah.
of being a contactee. It's funny, I had read that so many times that one of the contactees could control it. So I tried to do it. I stood in front of the bathroom vanity light bulbs and I'm like concentrating on one of the lights. I'm like, go out, go out, go out. It didn't, of course. But one day later, I walked into the bathroom and pow, it went right out.
Yeah.
Like,
So
whoa.
It caught
so
up
the
to you.
funny
That's right.
so
Yeah.
the funny thing about that, to bring it back to Miss Denise Stoner, right? So she goes, so long story short, I gave her all the information in the email. She ends up thinking my story is so compelling that she wants to meet me. So a couple of weeks later, she physically comes to my house with the lead investigator of MUFON for Florida at the time, which was Miss Terry Lynch. And they both come to my house. And one of the questions they asked me in the home was, when you walk around street lights, do they tend to turn off around you. And I was like, you know what? I never noticed it, but I think so. So that night when they left, I was sitting down in front of my porch and there was these 3 street lights. And I'm just like, okay, if we create everything with our minds, if everything on the outside is being created and projected with our subconscious, all I have to do is trick my mind into thinking that light is off in my mind and it would turn off. So instantly I knew the blueprint on how to turn off the light. So I just take my hand, the palm of my hand, I face it towards the light, and instantly within 3 seconds, I just go off, and boom, it turns off. And I
Yeah.
go, oh, it
Yeah.
makes my
You
heart
know,
like
you want to
skip.
hear a funny thing? My dad knew I was psychic. Okay, they encouraged me. We'd be in the car going places, right? We come up to
Awesome.
red lights. He'd say, "Dolly, make the light turn green." Oh,
I
you
do
never
it all
get me.
the
He'd say, "Blow out the light." So I'd start blowing the light, but it would go boom, green instantly. And I woke
time.
up one day years later and I realized that son of a gun, he was training me to turn things on and off psychically.
Oh my gosh,
I
Dolly,
can
you don't
still
even
do it to this
understand.
day.
In
Yeah.
the car till this day, when I can't with traffic, I just make them all green. And I thought,
Yep. Yeah.
listen, and I've never heard. My wife is probably dying laughing because I know she's watching right now. She is probably like, "Oh my God, that's a thing." I will be sitting down and I
Yeah.
have my hand out the window, and I'm like, just. I know you guys on the other side are going to be mad because this light's going to turn really fast right now, but I just feel like I have this connection with
Yeah.
electronics.
Yeah.
You're
And
doing
Well, the cat is
telekinesis. You
going
realize that,
crazy.
right? Yeah.
Lynn Mosher says
Yeah.
everything electrical, I think is what she meant, not ethical. Everything
yeah,
electrical goes crazy
Yeah.
with me. And
wow.
and also here's another one which I'm guessing can't keep a watch. I can't wear a watch.
It's me
No,
neither.
no watches. Sweet. No watches.
I
None.
have one,
Cannot.
but it's not running. I'll tell you that. It's just for looks.
No. I also drain batteries on cell phones. I get a cell phone and it only lasts so long before I have to constantly plug it in all the time. That's
But
the only way I can keep it running, you know?
one of the things that they did in the experiment when they came over to my house, so they put like this, I guess what it's like a magnetron or like something that can, it's like a needle that will show you how much magnetic energy is around, right?
Right.
And she just tells me, move the needle. And I'm just like, what? I don't know how to move any needles. And she was like, yeah, I know. I can't tell you how to do it, but you just move the needle. Just do it however you think you know how to do it. And once again, I stick my palm out to this thing and the needle goes up. And she's like, whoa, okay, hold on. And she takes out the batteries because they were completely drained. They
Okay.
go in the bag, they take out other batteries, fresh batteries, they put it in, they go do it again. I make the needle move again, the batteries drain again. So that
Yeah.
was one of the things
I
that
know.
I was able to do. And I was like, ever since that day, I was like, you know what? There's something with my hands and electronics and stuff like that. So
Right.
in weaving back to the ET process, so one of the things I don't talk about a lot until I met Dolly, of course, was the I believe that I was also being trained in some way, shape, or form to pilot a ship. And the reason why I believe this is because I do remember being escorted into a room by 2 grays, really short guys, about 4 feet. I wasn't, mad or anything. I was completely fine with them escorting me into this room. I'm sitting down in this chair that's not attached to the floor in any way, shape, or form. It's like the back of the chair is attached to the wall in some way, and I'm sitting like in a scoop. In front of me is this completely metallic panel, and there's a video screen at like a 90-degree angle facing down in front of me. When I sit in front of this panel, there's 3 symbols, and the symbols look like they're carved into the metal. And there's one on my left, one on my right, one in the middle. I get instructed to put my hands over, not touch, just hover over the one on the left and the one on the right, the 2 symbols. As I put my hands over it, the inside of the panel lights up like the same color of the inside of a toaster, like an orange, a deep
Yeah.
orange color from the inside of these. And then I instantly start feeling movement. And I get the sense that my left hand is the left wing and the right hand is the right wing. And as I'm moving my hands up and like moving my hands above these symbols, I see like clouds and stuff on the screen and being projected
Yeah.
in front of me. And I get this sense, I see like this ET in the corner and this mob of like people in the distance. And I get this sense that I got to pick up the ET and save them from the mob. And then I get another sense in another video that I have to go to this area where there's like this cataclysm happening. And I got to pick up a large group of people and bring them into a ship and take them to another spot. So the reason why I've never spoke about this before is because I remember being inside of this ship or this training facility or whatever. And when I touched the walls, it would go translucent, like complete. I can see the outside.
Right.
And we were hovering above like what I would see like maybe a cornfield or like, you know, like a football field. That it was just a big grassy area where we were hovering above, maybe about 20 feet tops above the ground. But we can see traffic. I can see traffic, like, but the minute my hand comes off the wall, it was solid metal. My hand goes on the wall, I can see directly through it. And as I'm like passing my hand on the wall, wherever my hand is going, the translucency of being able to see outside of this UFO would happen. I get this sense in my body, like deep connection, that how does it know that I want to see outside if it wasn't connected to me mentally? So I felt like I'm touching this wall and I want to see outside. The UFO itself, in some way, shape, or form, knows this and just gave me a window where my hand was. That's
Raphael,
kind of like how yes, I'm sorry.
you fly. You don't know it, but you fly. That is a simulator, and you're learning how to use your abilities, and your hands are key. Because how I fly, I learned on almost exactly the same thing you're talking about for a whole year before they handed me the ball. And I mean a real ball. It's an electromagnetic ball. It's very small. I have a key in my hand. And when I touch this ball, I put it in my hand and I go like this, it magnetizes it and it starts to grow. And on the inside of it, it's clear and you can see energy swirling around. It's an electromagnetic dimensional field that I cast my consciousness into because Talata's already there, the craft. And when I fly, I manipulate this ball with my hands. Okay. My right hand turns to the right. My left hand turns to the left. I can bring it down to my face or away from my face. I can bring it up or down. It's never touching me, but I'm around it. I'm connected mentally to Talara. Okay. And I think about what it is I'm doing. He hears me and he facilitates the craft's mechanism so that it obeys me. The craft obeys me instantly because he is the craft. I know all of the, I don't know how to explain it, the points of reference. I know all the coordinates. I can mentally send myself anywhere in the universe I want to go by flying. This is outside our atmosphere. I only fly with the ball outside our atmosphere because we are interdimensional at this point. Once I ignite the ball, we go out of space-time. We go into an interdimensional space, okay? When I light gate, Talon and I work together to open a light gate. It's a field light gate, and it opens a space between dimensional spaces. Like you saw the dark area, when we do it in space, it lights up like a Christmas tree. It's pure white and it has rainbow lights in it and stuff, and we go through, and I'm billions of parsecs across the universe in half a second or less. So you were in training. If you were in training, that tells me a very significant thing. That means you can fly. You don't know it. I don't know why you don't know it, but you fly.
Well,
You
he said it. He had a feeling.
Okay.
I got a feeling.
Yeah.
Because you also described something I've heard many times, which is they can turn the UFO transparent. I actually had this experience. I remember through a dream state, but they're like, look outside. And I looked, the side turned transparent. We were underwater. I'm like, whoa, like, this is amazing. But one guy told me, he said, wherever he looked, the wall or even the floor.
It was all transparent. That's right. We see 360 degrees all the way around. And it's the only way to fly. Like when you're in space, it's fun to do that, okay? But mostly I fly transparent when I'm in a planetary's atmosphere, a planet's atmosphere, okay? And it's because I need that 360 degree view to maneuver because we're very fast and things are coming at me real quick. and my reflexes are very, very good. You probably have really good reflexes.
You
That's number one.
know what's so funny about
Yeah.
that? I'll give you a great story. I remember one time I'm
Okay.
sitting down with friends. I was super young and
Yeah.
like maybe 13, and we was just playing around. And a friend of mine wanted to hit me in the face with a VHS tape, so he throws it as hard as he can from across the room. I just
And
turn
you
around
just
and
went,
catch it between 2 inches of my face, and the whole room goes, how is that possible? And even to this day, my wife throws playing cards at me, and I just catch them with my fingertips as she's
yeah.
like swinging them at me. I try to catch them. So yeah, my reflexes are insane, insane,
Yes.
insane.
That's number one on that. You have to have unbelievably good reflexes to fly. And that's incredible. I'm also now you've overcome fear. That's what I hear you telling me. You were afraid at
Yes,
first, but then you got over yourself and you realized this was
100%.
cool and you started trusting. That's
Yes,
important to know because it takes absolutely, absolutely fearlessness to pilot a craft. I'm afraid
yes,
of absolutely nothing. Okay.
yes.
And it takes that. That is number one thing. I can't second guess myself at any time. It's dead serious when you're in that craft and
Yep.
you have to be fearless. Okay. That's
Yep.
amazing. I'm impressed. You
I'm
know,
so happy. I'm so
I am
happy because
impressed.
I'm hearing things that honestly I've never been able to connect these dots. I'll give you another one that's kind of cool that I've really
Right.
never heard before. So I've connected with a mantis being, like you said in the bio. I call him O. Now, the reason why I call him O is so the one day I'm meditating and I'm in this meditation and I'm deep
Yeah.
in meditation. At this point, I'm already changing my music. I'm already getting into meditation. I'm already kind of doing the changes that need to change to be able to do my positive mission here on this planet. And I'm in my meditation, and all of a sudden, I get this communication that something wants to contact me. It's like, I want to talk to you, but I want to manifest physically. So I'm like, okay, I can feel the connection is not from me. I can kind of get the feeling. I'm not sure yet, but it's a very telepathic, very connection. So I'm like, okay, I would love to see you please appear, right? We're having this telepathic connection. And then it goes, you cannot look directly at me. I want you to slowly gaze into the corner. Like it's instructing me. And once again, I know I'm explaining it in a sentence form, but the way I'm getting this telepathic communication is almost like the paragraph is in a blink of an eye. Like everything I'm telling you is in a blink of an eye. It's a download. So I'm being told, look directly into the corner with a soft gaze, do not open your eyes, and I'm gonna appear to the right of you. So I'm sitting down in my recording studio on the couch, and I'm doing exactly as it instructed. And sure enough, I could see this foamy black figure start to appear. It appeared like almost in a haze and a little bit of smoke, cloudy-ish type haze, but it's black, it's big, and it's huge, and I can see that it has some sort of structure, but I cannot look at it. So I got this soft gaze in the corner. I think in my head, just the thought of going, I just want to turn my head really quick and look. Like just turn my head really quick
Yeah.
and see. The thought of me just thinking about turning my head, I instantly got the answer of, if you turn your head, I'm going to disappear. I'm not going to be there.
Right.
So I was like, okay, so what's the reason I can't see you? What do you look like? And then instantly I get an image in my head. And the way the image comes to me telepathic is, I don't know if this is the same for you, but for me, it comes from the right side of my brain. Like if I were to close my eyes, it would be a photograph on the right side of my brain and then slowly moving in front of me.
Yep.
I can see this image of a cockroach laying on his back, flailing its legs, and it's slowly moving in front of me. And I get the telepathic connection to saying, this is what I look like. I look like this. So I'm like, okay, you're a huge insect. And I kind of get this feeling of, whoa, you're a cockroach. And then I can feel its sense of humor kind of telling me right back to me, like, you should remember what, if you knew what you look like in your past life, you wouldn't be so judgmental right now. And we were
Mhm.
kind of having this telepathic laughing back and forth. I don't know how to explain it, but I wasn't like
Yeah.
an Indian style laughing, but in my mind, telepathically, we were
Yeah.
having a chuckle. Like I found it so funny that it was saying, yeah, you think I look crazy, but imagine how you look in your past life if you only knew, right?
I love
So,
that.
so we're
Wow.
having this communication, and I'm like, okay, so if this ain't really me, if this is not me, like if I'm not conjuring up this in my head, how do I know that this is true? How did you get here? And then all of a sudden, it just tells me subquantum kinetics. Like in my mind, it just says subquantum kinetics. And I know nothing about subquantum kinetics. I don't research that kind of stuff. I know nothing about it. And then I go, what's your name? And it goes, Asmarazna. Like the name was so long in my head, the way it was trying to explain it to me, that there is no way. It was like a name, a vibration, a sentence, a feeling, a story in a name. And it was so long. And I was just trying it. I can sense the feeling that this mantis or this being is knowing I'm having a trouble like trying to pronounce his name. So it literally just tells me telepathically, just call me O. And it was just the letter O right in the middle of my head. And then just as quick as the communication came in, the communication went away. I ran to my computer. I didn't see no haze, no nothing, nobody in there. Ran to my computer, looked up subquantum kinetics, and found one little article talking about how they found that subquantum kinetics was used to like travel in space time, and
Right.
it was
It's
just
time
like a
travel.
form of
Exactly.
validation for me.
Space travel,
So
light gating. Yep.
so
Yep.
there's two questions I want to ask now that I said that story. Question number one is, so I can let Dolly talk because I really want to hear her see. Question number one is, why didn't it let me see him? My view of that is maybe it was too much for my brain to
Yeah.
comprehend in the physical
It gave
form.
you an insect because it's probably a mantid, and he just gave you the simplest thing that you'd understand. He doesn't really look like a cockroach. He's
Right.
probably a mantid. The name O is familiar to me. Okay, I know
Okay.
who that is, and he's about 15 feet tall.
Yes, so big. He was like
Yeah,
hunched over in my room.
he's 15 feet tall, and he looks. The mantids are don't have exoskeletons. Okay, they have skin, but they're you can see that they evolved from a mantis. Okay,
Okay.
and they have that shape of head and everything. They are extremely intelligent. They're watchers. They keep an eye on us. He's probably assigned to you. I find that very interesting also. And so if you saw him for the first time like that, you would have passed out dead cold. You would not have
That's what
believed your
I
eyes.
was getting, that
Yeah,
feeling like if
yeah.
I would have
He is
just been
scared the
like if I
holy
would
hell
have
out of you.
turned around
Yeah,
in my hallway and like he would have
yeah,
just been sitting on my couch like,
yeah,
"Hey buddy, have a cup of coffee." Heart
yeah,
attack, heart would have exploded.
yeah.
Like
See,
my
I've
heart
seen
would.
first time I saw a mantid. Okay, we that's what we call them. That is not what they call themselves.
Okay,
Uh,
cool.
I was older, okay, and I was recovering from serious surgery, and I was sitting at my friend's house hanging out with her while I was in recovery. And I'm looking out the door. I'm alone in the house. Everybody's gone off on a shopping expedition. It's about 30 degrees outside, and the wind is howling like a hurricane. Okay, that and I've got the glass door, the outer door, shut open, but the inner door open so I can see outside. And I'm on the phone talking to Preston. Okay, and
Wow.
I'm looking across. It's a big farm, and I look across the quad, the big front pasture. Okay, and there's a line of trees, and I'm looking at the trees, and I'm thinking now I have really good eyesight. Okay, I have 20/10 vision. Okay, I can see things very far away, and I'm looking at them and thinking, what the hell is that? Okay, and it's staring at me from behind a big old stump. It lifted its head up and it was looking at me. It was all crouched down. I'm going, what the hell is that? It looks big. Okay, and I'm talking to Preston, and he can hear me going, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? I said, get up while I'm on the phone, and I got a flip phone. It's a Motorola, okay? And I walk to the door, and I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt and socks, okay? It's warm in the house, and I'm like, what is that? And it stood up, and it's 15-foot mantid right there. And I said goodbye, click, and I turned
What?
on my camera. I ran out the front door and I hauled butt for it. Okay, it looked at me and said, no. No, 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 no. Go back in. You need to go in. And I wasn't having any of that. You can't tell me what to do. And I'm still howling for it. And it started to walk away very fast. With those long legs, it could outrun me anytime. And I
Anytime.
started jumping trees, limbs, you name it. I never got it. There it is. That's behind the tree stump.
Wow, my man.
Okay,
Oh,
that's a man cave. Okay, that's the picture I got. It was
wow,
still crouching down. I got that
wow.
picture and a couple others, and
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
I
Can
freaked
you
the
imagine?
hell out. Okay, it's talking to me now, and I said, "What's your name? What's your name? What's your name?" And he says, "Oh, you know who I am. Try to remember." And that's all I got. Now, I want to tell you
Wow.
something about names and naming among ETs. Okay, this makes me think that we're about the same type of hybrid. I have a hybrid name. My name is Ora. Okay, they put the D in front of it for me, so it's the Ora. Okay, that's
Okay.
what they say to me on board. I'm not Dolly. I'm the Ora or Ora. Mama calls me Ora. Okay, that's my name, and it's a particular group of us that come from a particular. Uh, I'm part tall gray, and I'm part what you would call a tall white. Okay, Nordic.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have the genetics of both in me, and he said, "I watch over you. Get well." I was like, it's like 2 weeks out of surgery. And I went back to the house. I was freezing it up by the time I got in. And I called Preston and I say, "Well, I just saw a mantis." He's like, "What?" And I said, "I'm going to try to send you the pictures." And I did. I sent them to him. And I've never seen another one since. And this was 7 years ago now. And,
Yeah. Yeah. He
right
Preston
now,
gave you
back,
the
back
sense.
up.
That's crazy. That's so amazing. That's
Yeah,
so amazing.
because when you said, you said, "Don't look at me,"
Yep.
you can. I hear that also as well a lot. People are
Okay.
like, "I just could not see its face." I had
Yeah.
my own experience with that because I, again, I remember this is a dream, and I think it's more than this. But I normally don't talk about this. I don't know why I'm bringing this up because I have had experiences. But I was in this room, the gray walls rounded to the floor, nothing in there. And this guy walks up to me, and he's got to be 9 feet tall, 8, maybe 9, super thin, white jumpsuit. And of course,
Yep.
I recognize him from a previous experience. And I look up, and once again, could not see his face. It's blurred out. And I always kind of wondered why, because I don't feel like I would be frightened, but maybe I would. I don't know. But yeah, that is common. I hear that from a lot of people.
Talking about the 9 foot tall, I mean, that's a great transition to like the hybridization part of my experiences because I would love to talk about that. I haven't really said anything, but I do feel as if I'm connected to one of my daughters. Her name is Exara. And every now and then, I kind of look up at the moon and I get this feeling that she's just up there floating around, kind of going, "Can't breathe your oxygen, Dad, but I'm up here," type deal. Very proud of the ship she pilots, very proud of her crew. Like, I know she's up there. So I just want to put that out there. I'm claiming you. but but anyway, in speaking about the hybridization program, I remember when I lived in Florida in Oviedo. um I
mm,
was standing in the driveway of this Oviedo home, and I'm holding my son by the hands, my oldest, Ralphie. At the time, he must have been 6 or 7. He's 13 now.
yeah,
And we're in the driveway, just kind of like holding hands. And there's this huge UFO, like the size of a football field, is floating in above my house. I get this thought in my mind, like, how is nobody looking out the window right now and seeing this massive thing
yeah,
flying in the sky? It was completely metallic, jet black, like completely black, matte black, no shine to it, no rivets, no panels, no nothing like that. Just indentations in places of the ship where this orange light or this bright light would like come out of it. Sometimes purplish, sometimes different colors, but mostly the inside of a toaster is the best color I can give you, of like when the toaster coils light up, that
okay,
color. And off of the ship was like this electrified mist that would come off of it, velvet, pinkish in color, and it would have sparkles in it, and it looked like it was electrified and almost like the mist was alive and it's coming off this thing. And then all of a sudden, flash, and I'm just walking down this long hallway, and it's completely white. And the hallway looks like it could go on forever. I just remember thinking, like, this is long hallway, and there's some movement at the end of it. There's no lights anywhere, but it's completely lit. Like it has like atmosphere in some way, shape, or form. That's the way I like to explain it. Like it was just lit for no reason. It was almost like the walls themselves emanated the light itself. Like
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
just weird. And I'm walking down this hallway. It was so clean. It was like clean enough for you to like eat off the floor. There was not a speck of dirt, a stain, a smudge, nowhere. It was just the OR room clean. And I'm holding my son's hand. To the left of me is this tall gray, is what I like to call the tall grays, where it's just a small head of a gray. Usually they got these big bulbous heads on small bodies. On this being, it was like a small head on a longer, slender, kind of lanky body, very
Yeah.
long neck, and the fingers. I just remember how long the fingers are. I'm 6'1" and I got big hands. These fingers wrapped around my hands like
Yeah. Yep.
nobody's business. Just really long, lengthy fingers. And I was okay with holding. It felt like dolphin skin, like
Yep.
it, like
Wow,
wet.
that's
Like if
exactly
it wasn't wet, like exactly like dolphin skin, but not wet. Like touching a manta ray that wasn't wet, or like a wetsuit. And I'm holding the hand. My son's holding there's an identical being. They look identical in height, about 8 to 9 feet tall. My son's holding that being's hand, and we're walking. Yep, the closest depiction to what I could see. The eyes wasn't so rounded and so big, but it was the closest depiction as far as the neck to head ratio and body.
Right.
So we're walking down this long hallway, and all of a sudden I just see this window. It's just a window out of nowhere in this long hallway. And as I'm looking from within this window, I can see that there's a daycare on the other side. And it looks like almost like an operating like not an operating room, but when you go to like a lobby of a children's hospital, you see like a mural on the wall, toys
Yes.
everywhere, kind of things for kids to do while they wait. And that's kind of like what I can see inside of this room. There's this rocking chair just in the middle of this room. And then my son gets escorted into the room. I'm perfectly okay with it. I'm not worried that this being is walking my son into this room. Yeah, kind of that's the best depiction to where in my Photoshop skills that I could come up with. But that's like as far as their height. I would say their body slenderness, I would say, was similar. The longness of the fingers, that's pretty much what we was looking at. And my son gets walked into this room that has this daycare in it, and then all of a sudden these two other hybrid children walk in. They're wearing like a gauze like material. I want to say it's a hospital gown, but it was almost like attached to their body, skin tight, and it was almost looked like gauze. And they do like a formation in the corner with my son, almost like they sitting like Indian style with my son in the corner, and they proceed to like float an object. I think it was like white or like a feather or something was being floated between them, almost like they were playing catch without touching it. Like they were teaching my son how to move things with his mind. And they were playing catch and kind of like teaching my son these things.
I've
And
heard
I'm
this.
like I'm watching through this window of all this happening. Then all of a sudden I get gestured to walk in. So I walk into the same room, and that's when I noticed that the window wasn't a window, it was a two-way mirror, because I'm now sitting inside. I'm sitting on the rocking chair that was inside the room, and I'm looking at the reflection that's behind me because there's a mirror in front of me now, which was the window from the other side. And from the reflection, as I'm sitting down in this rocking chair, I can see this hybrid woman come in holding a child. And I know she's hybrid only because she looked superhuman. Like she looked very human, but the eyes were just slightly bigger than a normal human's eyes, and the mouth was. I just remember her mouth being so small, almost like she didn't use it at all to eat or to talk with. It was just a small mouth, and she proceeds to walk, very kind face. I get this very kind energy from her, not aggressive, like, here, hold this baby. She kindly hands me this child, and I get the sense that the child is mine, like, but I also get the sense that they're watching me intensely, like bond with it, save it. As I'm looking at the child, I can see like it has completely black eyes. There's no white in his pupils at all. There's no like It's just black gray eyes, like of a gray, but it was a child, and the eyes were sunk in. The nose was very thin, mouth was really small, and the hair on the top of the head was really thin, almost like it wanted to grow hair but couldn't. And I was just holding this baby, and then she proceeded to give me a bottle, and I was just being watched while I was trying to like bond and feed the baby the bottle, and the baby did not want the bottle at all. It was almost like, what are you doing, dude? Like, this is not happening. Then all of a sudden, it's like I blink and I'm in this auditorium. And I go from this rocking chair to this auditorium now, and it looks like a college lecture hall.
Mhm.
And I'm just sitting down in this chair, and right next to me is this lady. She's from Brooklyn, super obese, African American woman, just sitting right next to me. And we're talking about where we're from, almost like we don't even care where we are and we know each other forever. And we're just like, hey, so you're from Brooklyn? Oh, yeah, I'm from the Bronx. And we're having this conversation. I could see this archway, and there's this table at the bottom of this like lecture hall. And at the bottom of this table is this little, on top of the table is this little black box. So I'm starting to look at this archway at the front of this like lecture hall table area, and this being walks in, and it's like made of light. It has no bones, and the reason why I say it has no bones, because it's moving like liquid. Like, it does have skin and the shape of a body, like two arms and two legs, but it's just moving like the inside of it is pure liquid, and the liquid within it was like sparkly golden, like beautiful liquid. It looked just like golden light from with inside, and its head looked like a flickering flame, or like just like a motion of light just moving like where the head was, and his gestures with his hand to the table where this black box was, and out of this black box, this little small, like a little small cube, black
box.
cube,
Here we go.
a little small black cube on top of this box just proceeds to open up, and the hologram, the best looking hologram I've ever seen of planet Earth. Like, I've never seen an HD hologram like this, but it was almost like I could put my finger in a hologram and move the water on Earth itself. Like, it just looks so detailed how beautiful this hologram was. And then a meteor comes out of nowhere at the corner of the room, hits planet Earth, and the whole planet explodes in HD on this hologram. And I get this thought in my head of a voice that's not my own. It says, when this happens, you will all have a job to do. And then all of a sudden, I'm in this field. It's like this big, huge field, like a big, massive field. And there's a ton of people with their palms up, facing, just looking up at the sky with their palms up. And there's this big light coming from the sky, like it's going to hit Earth, and with our palms up, and then the light explodes. And then when the light explodes, I blink again, and I'm back in my driveway. My son's got his legs wrapped around my waist. He's completely asleep with his head on my shoulder. I'm carrying him, and I'm just watching this massive UFO just float away. And that's kind of like why I believe to be in the hybridization program. That's like the only thing that I can
Yeah,
correlate
you're also
that
a pilot.
experience to.
You're also a pilot. You've just been shown when the circumstances of when you're going to help fly people off this planet. We have something coming up, okay? And it's going to look like a massive meteor hitting Earth. It's the sun's going to micronova, and this time it's going to be bad. And they're going to come and get everybody just before it happens. They can't come get you now because our magnetosphere is down 40%, and they just can't fly here anymore right now. But it will get better, and they will be able to come back. And when they do, everybody goes. And it's going to take hybrid pilots to help do that. A lot of us, because a lot of people aren't going to go on if they see a gray. But if you stick your face out there and go, hey,
yo, come on, let's go.
That's
I'm flying
right.
this. Yeah,
That's
that's what I thought.
All right, I have to ask you guys to just stop for just a second. We need to take a very quick station identification.
Yep.
And I just want to let all of you know that you are watching The Light Gate. This is episode 17. I'm Preston Dennett, your host, and my lovely co-host is Dolly Safran, subject of the book Symmetry. Our guest tonight is Rafael Lugo. He is a podcaster, a documentarian, an experiencer, a hip-hop artist, and so much more. We are streaming live on United Public Radio Network at 107.7 from the beautiful city of New Orleans. Also, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3. We're on Roku, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and that's it. That's what I wanted to let you know. I've got questions stacking up, Rafael, so at some point I want to start getting to those because the chat is going wild. They're loving all the stuff you were saying. There are some, of course, who are a little skeptical. That's natural. That's good. You have to ask, personal. I mean, how would I put this? Knowledge is really comes from only personal experience. Once you've experienced it, it's healthy, I think, to be skeptical. But yeah,
Agreed.
just a couple of guys there are like, I don't know. But everyone else is like, oh my gosh, yes, for sure. I've had this happen to me. I've got all these questions. So yeah, this is pretty cool. So I didn't mean to interrupt because there's a lot to unpack with that experience. I've heard about the black box. I've heard the holograms, people being shown disasters, people whose job it is to help bring people on board. I know you're telling the truth because I've heard so much of what you're saying from other people, and there's little details that you skip right over. I'm like, yes, that's. So I'm like, this is thrilling to me. The way you describe it.
I love speaking to people with the immense knowledge and recall that Dolly has and the knowledge that you have, Preston, because to be completely honest, for a large period of my life right now, I've always had these feelings of, wow, man, like these experiences are happening to me and I really want to share them, but I just don't know how people are going to feel with the information, because even sometimes me saying it, I go, yeah, it really happened, but I know how it sounds, guys. Like, trust me, like I get it, I 100%. But I guess a lot of what I do really stems from if you have a family member that might be going through something like this, it's so easy to just discredit a story that a family member tells you, or it's so easy to send them or her on a path to hating themselves or self-medicating due to oh my God, demons are chasing me, or nobody else out there is going through it. So it's I share my story mostly not only to because I want to get people more involved with the subject, and I want them to be more comfortable with knowing that we do have family from the stars that we could tap into and knowledge that we could get downloaded and handed down to us, but more for those people that are in the confused state, in that state of I don't know what's happening. We're here, guys. It's happening to some of us, and you're not alone. So a lot of what I speak about is for that. So I just really want to say thank you once again for allowing me the platform and to be able to help out in my little piece, in my little way, because in no way, shape, or form do I feel like I'm Neo saving the Matrix at all. I just feel like we all have little missions and we all do our part, and together it's the big picture. Together we all save everybody together, all of us somewhat, we're just all doing our part, and when you add it up together you can see the big picture. It's like pieces of a puzzle.
Very cool. All right, well, maybe we should start asking some questions. Let me see if I can pull this up. Okay, here's one. They have a little feature here where you can star all the questions, and this is for you too, Rafael, and I'm kind of interested in this, but Christopher Harmon is asking, Dolly, do you ever do remote viewing?
Yes, I've been remote viewing ever since I was very, very young. It is a natural ability to me, and when I want something or I want to go somewhere, I want to do something, I'll remote view first, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to get there. And yeah, I can remote view at any time. It's a natural talent for me. Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I would like to add that it's 100% super easy for me as well. Remote viewing with me, it's pretty much I don't know if anybody else has certain techniques, but the way that I do it is I just tend to close my eyes and trust the images that come to me. The more trust you have with the images, the more I tend to be accurate. And remote viewing for me is as easy as calming my mind and kind of imagining where I want to go. And the way I see it is always in a hovering state. It's never I'm
Yep.
walking. Yeah, I'm never walking on the sidewalk and kind of like looking at you from the side. I'm always like above you, kind of looking down or something. So that's my remote viewing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is easy. This is natural. This is how we're supposed to be. These aren't superhuman abilities. This is human. And everything you're describing, you know, the electrical abilities on your hands and all the, you know, when you said you could feel the particulate in the air, that brought me back, because I would do that as a kid too.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little strange, because I've always been like super sensitive. I'm like, do you smell that, guys? And I was like, no, I don't smell anything. And sure enough, you know, we'd be driving along and you would smell it.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm still getting people used to the fact that I can stop it from raining. Like I tell my wife all the time, like I'll be like, hey, let's go out or something, and you don't need to check the weather, because if it's raining, it's like the techniques for me are so easy, and I tend to explain them so basic, but it's truly all I'm doing in my mind is I'm thinking about the hottest day that I've ever had in the summer in my heart. And I'm just thanking the universe for providing me that hot day again. And then within a couple of minutes or seconds, you could just see little holes in the storm just start clearing up. And I would explain it to my kids in the car, like, we're on the way to a water park. Let's sing the No Rain song, or we'll just sing, you know, it's not going to rain today. We're having fun. See, it's not going to rain. And it just ends up not happening. And then I try to explain to people, like, you know, when it comes to manifestation, or when it comes to like moving an object with your mind, it's all trust. You just first have to believe that it's possible, and then you have to just start working. Start working those techniques. It only takes a little bit of you saying, nah, I can't really do it, and then it doesn't move. And that little bit will make the light turn off.
Probably we were just talking about that today, about telekinesis. I mean, we had a big long discussion about it, and you're kind of echoing what Dolly was trying to get.
Yeah, you just let go and let it happen. You intend, and poof, you let go and it happens. That's right.
Yeah.
You know how I think this actually works is because we are part of the universe. We're an indivisible part of the universe.
Connected.
We are the universe. And there is no real separation between subject and object, between any of us. We're so connected. There was one guy, I think he was in Hawaii, who got really well known as a healer. And they asked him, how do you do it? He says, well, I feel like I am that person. I feel like I am the earth. I am all of this. And I just tell myself, well, I need to heal this part of me. And he's healing other people. So it's interesting that because I've had other people, I mean, one of the ladies in my latest book, Humanoids, described how she made it snow. She actually made it snow and stopped it. And there's another guy who could call the wind. He could call the wind, proved it to people over and over.
Have you heard okay, so this is another thing that I say that other people find weird. So sometimes I communicate with a tree. So the way that it would happen is I remember it happening when I was walking around the block in Oviedo. I just remember every tree I would walk by, I would feel it trying to almost tell me its name. Like, I'm alive. My name is this. And after a while, I just started noticing, oh my God, I think I'm actually feeling the life part, like the alive part of this tree.
Yeah.
So I just want to,
You know what I did? I keep checking to see if it's still there. The ficus tree that I was under when I saw them come down for the first time, that I remember it. It's a ficus tree, and it's in the swale of around the house because it's for water control. Okay. And I'm laying up there looking at this tree one day, and I was like, I got a little bit older, and I said, I need you to be here forever. You know, as long as you can, I need you to be here. And I could feel it trying to agree with me. Yes. I'll endeavor to be. Okay. That's what it would say to me. And I said, when I left there, I said, I will check on you. I will remote you. I will keep checking on you. You need to be there. You need to be there. I just did it again about a week ago, and it's bloody still there. And I've gotten pictures of it because the Google thing went by it, and it's still bloody there. It is huge. So it's over 60 years old now, and it's huge. And I love this tree, and it loves me back, and it's trying. And
Mhm.
don't let anybody cut you down. Tell them no, 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 no. And it's
No,
literally
I
still
say
there.
the same thing. I say you're gonna stay here. I'm gonna be here next week. And it's almost like meeting an old friend, and it's weird because
Right.
you want it so bad to just form lips and a mouth and say, "Hey, I'm really
Yeah,
here and I'm
but you
just
can
staying,"
you can
and
hear
it
it. Yeah,
never does. Yeah,
yeah.
so it's
I had a
like,
huge avocado tree that was hanging over my house in Reseda, and it had to come down. And I told the tree, I cried. I'm not, it was just bad.
yeah.
It was going to destroy the house. The neighbor was complaining. The
Yeah,
squirrels were everywhere. It wasn't producing avocados.
yeah.
But I did
It's
not
really
think I would be
affected
that
him too.
traumatized by
Yeah.
it. I mean, it
You
really
want to know
tried.
what I do?
Yeah.
Just okay. So he's going to hear this for the first time. I keep seeding avocado trees, and I'm working on my third one now, and they're for Preston because I can
Oh
tell that he's
yeah.
really upset about the avocado trees. He's like, "Can we keep
Wow.
them alive?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll keep them alive. Okay, no problem."
No, that's awesome. No, I'm telling you, the connections that we have, I
Yeah,
mean, they're all around us. And it's like if we open ourselves to those connections, that's when the magic happens, I like to say. And it's
yeah,
funny because I used to be this gangster hip hop artist, talking about all this negative stuff. And here I am talking about hugging a tree and communicating with it. But it's just the honest truth. It's like I'm tired of these things being the weirdo things or like cliche. It's just another form of communication, is
right.
the
Yeah.
way I look at
I'm
it.
so
We're just
glad you're bringing it up,
communicating on a deeper level.
because one of the contactees who's in my book. I keep bringing it up because you're saying the things they're saying, and she was absolutely into the trees to the point where she carried around a medicine kit and would medicine,
Yeah,
and each night would have dreams with tree spirits. She had a real rough time. She was nearly beat to death at school. They had to pull her out of school because there was a bully who actually almost beat her to death,
Wow.
and really just moved into the forest and for a year communed with this actual tree spirit, a nature spirit, I guess you would call it. And it was something that would end up ending after a year, but she had a final visitation as an adult, and he explained everything. So yeah,
Well,
this is the real thing. Trees do have a spirit to them.
Well, I'll tell you one. Let's transition to another story because I also have a story that I think that you guys would find interesting, which would be my first experience with my lab abduction. So the reason why I can tell the difference between a military abduction and let's say an ED taking is because of the experience that I had again once again in the Oviedo house. I'll say it like the shorter version. I won't go into the longer version because there's a lot of detail in it. But it was this one night right after dinner. My wife is throwing away the garbage, and we see this UFO in the sky. It's just a bright orange light. It's just a fire in the sky. It's just a nice orange globe. And at first, I'm watching it rise in the distance, and I'm going, "Oh, look, babe! It's one of those Chinese lanterns. They're letting go of the lanterns." It looked like that, just like a light slowly floating up. And I was like, oh no, it's not that. I mean, they don't stop. This light rises up and then it just stopped in the sky. So I was like, well, that's not one of those lanterns. I know what it is. It's a helicopter coming towards us, and that's the spotlight of the helicopter. So me and my wife are just watching, and then once again, it's just not moving like a helicopter. And then finally, I snap out of it and I go, oh my gosh, we're looking at a UFO right now. We're looking at a UFO right now, babe. So I grab my wife's hand. We're in the driveway right now. It's about maybe 6, 7 o'clock at this time. And the light is not completely dark, but the sun's going down. And I tell my wife, I'm going to try to connect to this UFO. And she goes, go ahead, go try to connect. Right. So I close my eyes and I say, with peace, love, and all the light I have in my heart, I would love to connect with you if it is safe and it's okay. I just want to know that you see me and I see you. Is there any way that you can tell me you're here? And if you do see me, can you please just move to the right? And right when I said that in my mind telepathically, it moves slowly to the right. I squeeze my wife's hand and I go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I think I'm connected. I think I'm connected. I'm so excited. I can almost feel like this electricity running through my body. I'm so electrified and charged that this is happening. Now I verbally say it, not telepathically, but I say, thank you so much for connecting with me. I would love it if you can show my wife by moving to the left. And I say this audibly so my wife can hear it and see the movement. And sure enough, when I say that, this UFO moves to the left. And she goes, oh gosh. So now we're both excited, super pumped that this is happening. And it's almost like the light knew and was kind of mirroring our excitement by flickering on and off and kind of pulsating a little bit. As this is happening, a helicopter flies over my house directly towards the light. A helicopter comes from the left directly towards the light. No exaggeration, maybe 5 to 6 helicopters are now completely surrounding this orb of light in the sky. And as I'm looking at these helicopters, I'm looking at my wife. I'm going, oh my gosh, we're really connecting. It's still flickering, kind of starting to phase out, like getting dimmer and dimmer as the helicopters are surrounding it. But I'm looking down my hallway. I'm looking down my street in my subdivision. And I can see this black Durango just slowly start creeping up my neighborhood. And it's black on black, like the tints in the front of the windshield was limo tint. And that's what threw me off. Usually I remember seeing limo tint on the sides of cars, maybe on the back, but the windshield only has that one strip of tint in the front, and you could kind of see the person driving in the front. But this Durango was completely limo tint, the whole windshield. Like you could not see inside of this thing. It was presidential tint all the way. And it's slowly driving. So I'm looking at the UFO. I'm looking at my wife. I'm looking at the Durango. I'm looking at the UFO. I'm looking at my wife. I'm looking at the Durango. And this Durango kind of gets to like the house right next door to me. And it stops, kind of watches us watching this thing. My wife gets a little freaked out, and then it goes from like 5 miles per hour to like 15, and it drives right past me and my wife. And as it passes us, I see a green flash of light. My wife said that she saw a red and white flash of light, but it was specifically a green flash of light for me that I saw come out of this vehicle. The vehicle proceeds to pass us. Meanwhile, this light is slowly starting to dim in the sky, and the helicopters are still there, but it's in the distance. And now this Durango is parked at the end of my drive, like at the end of my street in another neighbor's driveway in reverse. And I can feel whoever's in that car staring at us, still staring at this UFO in the sky. So my wife is like, uh-oh, men in black, I can't do it. I'm getting scared. She gets all nervous and she runs inside. I call her a chicken. I go, oh, you chicken, you always asking to see a UFO, and then finally a UFO comes and you get all scared, right? So I stay outside. The UFO completely disappears, and now there's just a bunch of helicopters in a circular formation just staying there, and the Durango is still there. So I'm like, you know what? The show's over. It's just helicopters. I'm going inside. Now, for some reason, on any normal day, on any normal occasion, like if that were to happen to me tonight, I would be ecstatic. It would be all I would be able to talk about. But for some reason, I just walked in, looked at my wife and said, wow, that was crazy, right? And she was like, yeah, that was done. And we just went about our day. It was like no big deal. We see UFOs all the time. And that's not the case. So the UFO, so that event passed or whatever. We're now in the house and we're watching Nacho Libre. It was the first time that it was on Netflix, and like the kids are watching it. We're watching it. It just turned off. The kids are asleep on my couch. My wife is sitting on my recliner. I'm sitting on the love seat with my back towards the front of my home, which you can see the front door of my home from where I'm sitting in my living room. So it's completely dark. It's 10:43. I know this because the time is bouncing on the Roku TV screen, because me and my wife are just talking, and after the Roku sleeps for a while, that's the like sleeping kind of thing that goes on the TV. So it's saying 10:43. I know it's 10:43 p.m. You can't tell me it's not 10:43 p.m. And I'm saying this for a specific reason. You'll know why in a minute. So as I'm talking to my wife, I can hear, or no, she hears the door handle of my home, kind of like somebody's jiggling at it. And she goes, shh, 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 stop talking. I think there's somebody trying to break in the house. And I go, somebody's not trying to break in the house. Shut up. And then I stop talking. And sure enough, I start hearing like the door handle, somebody's trying to get in. So I'm like, okay, it's a friend trying to prank me. I'm going to walk slowly towards the door. And my door had a window to where if you just move the curtain, you can see on the other side. So my whole thing was I wasn't going to turn on any lights until I got to the door. I was going to creep to the door and I was just going to whip my curtain and go and turn on the porch light and go, gotcha, who's trying to prank me or whatever. I thought it was a friend. And as I'm walking towards the front and I'm hearing this door handle, there's a hallway to the right of me before I get to the front door. And in that hallway is a bathroom, my recording studio, and another bedroom. And I just so happens to glance into the hallway, and the brightest white light I have ever seen in my life, it just flashes me in my face. And all of a sudden, I'm blinded by this light, and I wake up and I'm in my back bathroom. My shirt is off and I'm completely on my back. I can feel my whole body vibrating like when your arm falls asleep and it gets all tingly.
Yeah.
My whole body felt like it was tingly like that. And the base of my spine, for some reason, felt very like ugh, like very something at the base, like very almost like just like a medicine-y, like if you've ever been under anesthesia, you wake up from being under anesthesia, it's almost like the base of your spine gets this chemical and you can almost feel it and taste it. And then I was completely nauseous. And when I get up, I instantly think, oh my God, my kids. Where are my kids? And I get up off the floor, run through my bedroom, and I come into the living room. My wife is now sitting in the love seat I was sitting in the most like the most uncomfortable position. She's like in the fetal position, like super uncomfortable. My son is on the couch, completely sleeping with his feet outside of the blanket and his whole body underneath the blanket. So usually your whole body would be underneath your blanket and your head would be out, but his whole body was under and his feet was where the pillow was. And then my youngest son was underneath my kitchen table with a blanket and a pillow holding a teddy bear sleeping. And I go, what's going on here? I look at the time on the TV, which is still bouncing because of the Roku. It is now 2:50 something in the morning. And I slap my wife on the leg to wake her up. And I go, babe, what happened? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And when she wakes up, she goes, what? Where am I? What happened? I go, babe, it's it's almost 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, what do you mean? What happened? What happened to you? Why are you even in the love seat right now? She goes, all I remember was somebody was jiggling at the door, and then there was a bright light, and now you're waking me up. And that's what I believe to be a military abduction.
You're right.
3 days after that, there were three really big like dudes in like full kind of like had a bulletproof vest on and stuff, and they claimed they were in my backyard looking for a drone. But the only way that I saw them in my backyard in the first place was because I was playing video games and I happened to glance outside and just see these massive people in my backyard just walking without, they didn't knock on the door to ask permission, they were just in my backyard. So that was a military abduction, in my opinion. That's what I believe.
Yep. Yeah. Talata watches over me constantly, and a couple attempts have been made on me. One I lived in Columbus. We had security metal gates outside our double doors, and they were locked every day at 6 p.m. Like clockwork. And I don't know who opened them or unlocked them, but they were unlocked. And I sort of knew that in the back of my head. And it's about 1 o'clock in the morning, and my mom's a night owl like I am. My father had passed away, and I hear the door. I hear the metal door open, and then I hear the doors on the inside were locked, and they were pushing on them like they were trying to push them open. And I ran to the doors and I hit them as hard as I could, and I'm pretty damn strong. And I slammed it and I said, "Get the hell away from my door! You're dead." And I said, "Grab my gun." And my mom ran into my room and grabbed my shotgun. And I said, "Dare you, buddy? Dare you? Come on, let's see what you got." And they took off. I called the cops. The cops patrolled around our house for the rest of the night because there was evidence outside that somebody was trying forced entry. Another time it happened to me, I was living in Panama City with my daughter. She had an owned townhouse, okay, 2-story. And my room was in the back and it was over the back porch. So out my window up there, I could see the porch under, the roof line. And if I'd open the window, I could go out on the roof line and stand on the roof. And I'm lying there, I'm half asleep, and Talata jumps in my head and said, "Get up, look out your window." And I did. And there's a guy, black ops, wearing the whole gear,
Yep.
trying to pry my window. And Talata said, "I've had enough." And he knocked him off the roof. He slammed down to the ground. And the car that they were in behind the house, he EMP'd it. And it went. There were 6 people in that car. There was camera equipment, all kinds of stuff. Everything caught fire inside the car, including the engine. They jumped out screaming. Now I'm standing in my room watching this out my window, and I'm thinking, oh my God, okay? And I can hear Todd in the back of my mind, "You got to move now. That's it. We're done. You have to get out of here. Nobody's safe around you. Nobody." And 2 days after that, I called Preston. I said, "You're not going to believe what I'm looking at." There was a raid across the street, and I couldn't understand. There were like 12 police cars, 4 ambulances, and 2 fire trucks. And my daughter came up and she said, "What's going on over there?" And I said, "I don't know." And all of a sudden we hear bullhorns going off and they're evacuating these apartments. And I know what that meant. And I said, "I have to leave now. I have to go. I have to pack. We have to get me out of here." And I left out of there and went back to the zoo where my family had a zoo. And Todd said, "This is it. I've sent messages. They need to understand they can't come near you anymore. They got to leave you alone." Now I'm telling Preston everything. I've got pictures of all these guys patrolling me all the time. After Michael, we had an abandoned building next to us, and they put all kinds of listening equipment in it. And I used to play with them. I'd go out there with cookies and Coke and hand it to them.
I walk around the house sometimes, and I go, "I know y'all listening.
Yeah.
Turn it off, please.
Yeah.
Thank you."
I'm just constantly followed. Yeah.
They identify contactees. Contactees are watched very closely by not only ETs, of course, but by government, especially if they're having a lot of experiences.
Every house that I have ever lived in, 2 houses down is a police officer that lives there. Every house. 2 houses down, there's always a cop. Every house.
They also got FBI in the house behind you. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't be surprised. I tend not to talk about that a lot because it opens the discussion for other people that might be going through like paranoid states and stuff like that. But honestly,
you don't want them to be paranoid. Yeah.
Honestly, all jokes aside, like there be times where I just got to ignore them. It gets stupid sometimes, and even on phone calls, you can hear the click over. I'll give you an example of how they use a form of technology, or how I believe they used a form of technology on me. So one day I was in my bathtub, and I'm just literally in the tub. I'm taking a bath. I like to take baths. I love water. I believe that I used to be a water being in my past life, but we could talk about that. But anyway,
Contactee thing as well. We all love water.
I was just in the tub, and I'm just in this water, and then all of a sudden, and I know this will not make sense, but I will explain it. You let me know. I can hear a conversation between 3 people, and it's in my head, and it does not sound like it's an ET conversation. It sounds like they're in a room or in a van or in somewhere, and it's 3 people having a conversation, and they're going, "Just turn it up to 8, turn it up to 9, turn the dial to like 9 and see what happens." And then all of a sudden I hear one of the people go, "Oh my God, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. I think he can hear us." And then the connection completely turns off. And then the back of my head starts, I get this pounding migraine in the back of my head. The back of my neck starts burning, and my lower spine starts burning. And I'm telling my wife, I'm like, they're hitting me with something. I can see a green dial in my head just being turned on to 9, and I can feel it. And my wife,
you got to do what I do, okay?
Yeah.
We go to bed, and I want the Wi-Fi off, my phone's turned off, okay? Radio silence, okay? I'm not putting up with it. I need 8 hours a day where I'm not listening to them, listen to me.
Yes.
So I turn it all off. There's also another phenomenon. I'm gonna bring this
also
up.
Radio stations. Sometimes I'll be in the car, and then all of a sudden, Boyz II Men will be playing in my left ear. Like for no reason. I will hear it like it's Boyz II Men in my ear. Like in my ear. Hello.
What the hell? That's right.
Yeah.
I had that happen once. That's so funny you mentioned that. Woke up, I'm like hearing radio in my head. I'm like, what the heck?
Yep. They have back engineered ET technology where they now have exploited Wi-Fi and radio waves and all that kind of stuff. But they also have AI that is psychic now. They've learned how to make AI psychic. Okay. And they now have a super quantum computer, and I'm not going to say where it is, but you could probably figure it out. And it is connected to the neural net that's around this planet. All the satellites are like a giant neural net. They're all connected, and they give this computer access to everything through 5G, all the way up to 12G. And there is 12G, by the way, just so you know. And they can monitor you now through that because you've got phones, you've got appliances that are hooked up to the internet as well, Wi-Fi as well. Everything is all hooked up, and they're listening to everything you can do. But it's not just listening; they can transmit to you as well. And that's why
I strongly believe that too, because if it wasn't for how much I love, myself and life and everything else, okay, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I in no way, shape, or form want to harm myself in any way, shape, or form, but I used to be on top of a building. Let's say it was 19 stories high, and it was in New York. And for some reason, when I get to the edge of it, jump off, see what happens. And I'm like, why are these thoughts being popped? Or I'll be walking down the hallway and a truck will be coming and I'll see it and it's literally just, why don't you jump in front of that truck, see what happens? And I'm like, what? And obviously it makes no sense to me, so I keep it pushing. But I think about the contactee that might be getting the same messages, not knowing what's going on, and actually jump in front of that truck thinking it's them own selves. So I don't like to talk about that a lot as well. But since we're on the subject of like the technology that they can use, as a contactee, it's easy for me to like pinpoint the areas.
We're aware. We know it's coming in at us. That's how do I put this? That's our advantage. Okay. It's one of the reasons ET wants everybody to wake up and use their abilities, because they'll know the difference. They'll hear it. They'll know what the truth is. It's very important that we wake up. Yep.
That makes so much sense. Awesome.
Apparently we had something show up on one of our screens. We'll have to review this because could be some paranormal shadow according to some of the people who are watching. Anyway, I would love to start. I've got 14 questions lined up, and
Let's do it. I would love to hear it.
We have 20 minutes left, and some of these are interesting questions. And so here is one which I don't know if any of us can really answer this, but of course, there's been horrific wildfires in Hawaii. And Lynn Mosher Howell is asking, probably this is a Dolly question, because this has turned up in other disasters that Dolly's talked about, and certainly have cases like this. Do you think some of the 1,000 missing people, I didn't know there was 1,000 missing people in Hawaii, might have been taken because they haven't found the body?
No, this is what's hard for me to tell you. ETs are not here. They're not physically here right now because of the magnetosphere being so bad. It's too dangerous for them to even be here. They would crash too easily now. These people.
This sort of thing has happened, though, in the past.
Yes, in the past, when ETs were still here and they could pick you up. These people, I'm afraid, are lost. They've passed away. And it kind of breaks my heart. We're looking at a situation where we're physically cut off from them right now. And the powers that be on this planet know this. They know it. It's one of the reasons they're all trying to go back to the moon. I want to make a point here. The Russian mission that crashed on the moon, right when they were doing that, we had a couple of CMEs incoming through our system from the sun. And this is the reason why ET won't be here. It absolutely downs anything that uses electromagnetic energy and nuclear, anything like we have circuitry and things like that, that uses electromagnetic energy as well through electricity. And we had a couple of our own space people send up satellites that hit a field like that incoming from the sun, and it blew them up in midair. You're going to see a lot of that happening. They're trying to understand why it happened to them, and they'll never tell you the truth, but I'm telling you the truth. When there's incoming CMEs from the sun, solar wind, all kinds of things, when that electromagnetic pulse is hitting this earth, it will destroy anything in its path. And if you're up in the atmosphere or the moon is even closer, it will devastate it. So I
We're
feel
gonna have
bad.
to do a whole show on that because, but I still got 13 questions, so let's get
Okay.
through them because there's a lot of them. Okay, this is from Tools, who expressed some skepticism, but the chat has been very kind, and so he's also been very respectful. He says, "Does anyone know why some people are allowed so much detail and others are not?" That is a good question because I see that with contactees.
Okay. If you look at it from that perspective, you would think that way. And I'm going to give you a different understanding and perspective for this.
Okay, but keep it short.
Okay. Those who are wide open, psychic, and aware are being given information because they're getting it for themselves. The universe is very chatty. The ET thinks of God as the all mind, and ET will communicate with you long distance as well. And you see the truth and you learn things very rapidly when you psychically become aware and able. It isn't that we're being singled out, we're awakening, and that's what they want you to do. You're not out of the equation, you're in it. If you wake up, you'll hear it too. That's the point. Please remember that. Strive for it because we are not the only ones with this information or being given it. We're not special. We're all capable of this. Strive for it.
Why, Rafael, do you think you have been able to remember so much where others don't?
Well,
I'm asking Rafael, yeah.
Well, to be completely honest, I'm really trying to look within myself to try to uncover some of the parts that I don't have. But to my knowledge, I believe that it's all in divine timing. And I believe that they dripped the information that I needed to know at the time that I needed to know it. And now that I'm out here kind of doing what I'm supposed to do, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of those memories come rushing back. And I have been noticing that the more I talk to other experiencers like Dolly, there's certain points that she's able to clear up for me that for some reason, the minute she says something and clears it up, I get this whole other backstory to what she says that I start to remember. So it's also in doing the research and going out and being a part of the community that I'm getting some of these memories back.
Right.
So I guess it's
and I'm a hybrid. They hoped that somebody in my family line would wake up one day with the ability to excel quickly, and I did. And it's natural to me to be this way. And I am really glad of that, but it sets me apart from everybody. And I'm not really apart from anybody. Y'all have this ability too. You just need to strive for it. It was time for me to be here, and I guess I came to do just what I'm doing. It's my job. So it's harder than you think.
All right. The questions are adding up again. I knocked down a few, but we got 4 more. So here's one from Maggie Smith. Rafael, do you feel like you get downloads for your hip hop? Your speech has a great flow to it.
I appreciate it. Well, 100%. I wouldn't say that every song is downloaded, but on average, it would take me probably 4 or 5 hours to write a song. And then sometimes when the message is super clear and I have a specific message that I feel urged inside of me to say, it's within 15-20 minutes to do the same song. So I believe that the faster it takes me to write the music, it's coming from a different place. And also I believe that we're all kind of grabbing from what's out there, kind of like a radio station. It's all about how we tune in. So I think I'm just a little bit more conscious on what I'm tuning into than most. That's pretty much all it is.
Well, John Lennon, who had Contact, said, I didn't write that song. It came to me.
A lot of it, like Calling All Hybrids. Like the first verse to Calling All Hybrids is, I'm going to do this for my hybrids from a different world, looking to provide us with knowledge, wishing that we all just stop the violence. They try to show us how to build, but we always demolish. Listen, I'm here to reach out to you. You can ask me anything. I'll never lie to you. If you came in from above, then I would ride for you. If you're only spreading love, then I would die for you. So it's like little things like that. Even though it's easy to write, I remember writing that song and I was just sitting down. I closed my eyes and it was almost like the words were written for me and I was just writing them on a page from my mind to the page. So little things like that is where I feel like, okay, that's for my hybrids. And the funny part about that is ever since I've released that song, I've been getting email.
Did y'all freeze? We all froze. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Rafael, you froze. Can you hear us?
Keep trying to talk. Don't you just love
if you have
days
to
like
pop
today?
out,
I know.
yeah. Rafael, if you have to pop, I don't know if you can hear us or not, but if you have to pop out and click on the link again, that will sometimes work. I will try emailing him and letting him know. Darn it. Gosh. And I loved that hip hop song that he was just.
Yeah, I know. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Okay. Well, here, Dolly, I'm going to pop up a question for you while I try to get
Okay.
up or Rafael back.
All right. I'm listening.
So the question is from Peppa. Are
Okay.
past lives only past Earth lives, or can you have other planet past lives?
Yes. Yep. You can be born anywhere in the universe. Just depends on what you need to do and what you need to learn, or what you decide you want to need to do and learn. Yes.
Yeah, I actually have memories of that. And Bashar, because Bashar was brought up. Sorry, I'm doing two things at once. I'm trying to get Rafael back. But Bashar told me that I did live as a past life as an ET and to come back here to help, what he said, anchor the Earth energy.
Yep.
So, okay, I'm still trying to. Oh, Rafael's calling.
Don't you just love it?
Dolly, take over.
Yeah, I'm gonna look for questions. Okay. Here we go. Let's see what we got. I'm looking. Nice bars, not written too much. I'm looking for questions because I'm gonna go a little back further because Preston will pass by him and okay, let's try this one. Okay. What do you think is the real purpose behind the brain chips for humans that Elon Musk and Bill Gates are funding? Ooh, that's a good one. Basically, they're trying to use that back engineered ET technology to make you psychic, like they've learned to make the AI ET psychic. Okay. It's not fully as psychic as we're capable of being, but it's enough for them to hear you and you hear them. They also are trying to figure out how ETs indwell the craft, and they're trying to do a transference of consciousness into either a machine or another person. They'll never be able to do that, and they're trying to use chip technology to do that as well. Their AI now is what I consider semi-conscious. It's learning, it's teaching itself, but it will never, ever, ever be conscious like we are. It doesn't have a true consciousness. It can't develop one. It's just a machine. And what's really going to happen is when the big CME hits and the grid goes down, all of that goes down with it. It will never exist again because it's a plug-in. It's not, it needs its own external form of electricity. We don't. We're conscious. We have our own internal form of electricity. So yeah, it's sad to me that they're trying. I wish they would stop because what they're wasting their money on could better help humanity prepare for what's going to come to us. And it's very selfish of them in my mind and my heart that they're doing it. Okay, let's try another question here. Let's see.
Hello?
Okay. We're trying to get him back on. He's still doing it. Let's see. Let's see. This helps connect. I'm looking. Okay.
All right. Shoot.
Any encounters? I'm not sure about that. I'd have to ask him. We'll have to wait for him to come back for that one. That's a good question, though. Why do they do my labs? Okay, this is a good one.
So you can't click on the link in Messenger?
Okay, so why do they do my labs? How common are they? And do they only do it with contactees? No, they do it with everybody. They've been doing it for a long time. They've progressed from MK12 on up, MK5, you name it. It's a progressive thing that they go through, and they're kind of experimenting on us. They've been experimenting on us for years. They are heavily ensconced in their lives, and you're more of a subject to them than anything. One of the things that's important for them to do my labs is they want to convince you that ETs are evil. And I'd say a good more than 80% of my labs are frightening the heck out of everybody and making you think ETs are evil. And that's why people have such a serious fear of them and propagate that it's not ETs giving you that, it's them. Okay. Let's see.
Dolly, can you hear me, Dolly?
Yeah.
All right. Can you bring that question down? Because I don't see how to bring that down.
Okay, hold on. It's because I got it up. Hold on.
But yeah,
We have it. Okay. All right.
I talked with Rafael, and the power went out completely in his whole complex. He pulled out his cell phone and tried to click on the link, and that's not working. So they're pulling up their laptop now, but it's not looking good. So I'm glad we got through most of the show. But
Oh my God.
I do see some other questions here that pertain
Okay, go ahead, put them
to
up.
you. So I'll just pick
Okay.
this one up. Let's see. Oh shit! I just swore. So sorry, guys, because I lost the question. But basically, it was how many people are going to be picked up?
If you make it through what's coming up, the grid going down and what the government's plan for us, and you're still here, you'll get picked up. That's the point. We should have been preparing for this. We should have been ready for it, and everybody helping everybody so that we all go together. Now the government's going to intervene. They want to be the 1% who survive because it's not sustainable after the grid goes down. Everybody's going to be fighting everybody. They've got all their underground facilities and their seed depositories, and they want your guns and they want you to leave. So you got to deal with that.
Are all 8 billion humans going to be relocated? No.
No, not at all. You got to remember something. We're transient here. Your physical body is only temporary in this place. Your consciousness will go on. So whichever way you make it, whether if you survive long enough to go off with ET or you leave to go onto another existence, you're still alive. You're still conscious. Because you're cut off from consciousness right now and they're wanting you to wake up, you're not aware how profound that example of reality really is. You don't stop. You live forever. You're an eternal being, eternal consciousness. And you have to remember that no matter what happens, you still have that. If you talk to people who have had NDEs, they'll tell you at the moment of death, it doesn't matter what happens to you. People who have been horribly, tragically in accidents and things happen to them, they feel no pain at that point. They exit their body, and some of them are actually saved and they're brought back and they say, you know what? It didn't hurt at all. It hurts now, but it didn't then. We tend to leave our bodies at just before the moment of impact if we're going to die from it. We save ourselves from that. So don't be afraid. It's an easy turnover to go to the outside existence of this body. And ET really wants to keep us doing well and evolving. And we're just fighting a bunch of world leaders who are egomaniacal idiots, okay? That's all I can call them. I don't know what the heck they're thinking. We should be working together. They shouldn't be lying to us, and they are. Okay, what else? I can't hear you, Preston, at all. Okay, $2. Are 8 billion humans? No, you got to take that one down. Okay. Somebody just loves to mess with us tonight, don't they? It's amazing. You bring the truth out and they're like, no, stop talking.
All right. Sorry. Yeah. Rafael tried to get back in. He can't do it. So we're actually only like 5 minutes till we have
we're going to get ready to go.
Well, 8 minutes, but no, let me count that again. 7 minutes.
I can't go to 30. I have to go to 29, 28, 29 minutes after.
Yeah.
And then,
so we're at 1 hour and 52 minutes. So that gives us still a good 5 minutes.
Okay.
So what I want to do is just bring up some of his stuff that we were going to show.
Yes.
So that he can get at least some of
his
stuff out there. But I just talked to him. We're going to have him back because he's got more to share.
Okay.
So let me just
we're going to do another show basically as soon as possible. Okay.
Let me just pull up some of his stuff and then we'll get to some of the other questions if possibly we can answer them. But right now I want to give him a chance to show some of his stuff. And that's just his picture.
I love it.
So here is his bio. And so we actually already read that.
Do the replay, you can read it. You pause and you read. Yeah.
So here is his Facebook website, Calling All Hybrids. Right. Check it out.
The podcast as well. Yep. Yes.
Yep. And he's, of course, doing hip hop, and he sang some of it for us, which was really cool. And I believe these are some of the albums he's put together.
Yes.
Rafael is so disappointed. I'm like, dude, it's all right. You know, we're at the last 10 minutes of the show. We're going to have you back. Chat loves you.
Yes.
Here's his other album. So this is called $RLJAUDIO. So that is out now.
Yeah.
And here's more. If you check out the links in the description, you can go to his website. What I Know, another, I guess, album or song. I am not sure, honestly.
Yeah.
But I was going to have him talk us through all of this and at the end of the show. So that's why I just want to play it real quick for you here before we close out for the evening. And here he is doing his documentary that he's going to be putting together about his experiences.
It's coming out soon, actually. Yes.
Yep. And he also does his own podcast. So you can check that out. If you just type in his information, you should be able to find it. But yeah, a really interesting guy. I mean, he's a lot of fun to have on the show.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Apparently he likes
I love
books.
this picture. Yeah. Somebody else loves books like you do. That's right. It's perfect.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. It's
really love
gorgeous.
Yeah, for those who can't see, he's sitting on a couch and there are walls of books on all three sides. I love it.
Yep.
And he does have merch. If you guys want merch, he is helping to spread the word any way he can and help fund this because, yeah, this is actually costing us money to do this podcast for those who are wondering.
Yes.
Hopefully, maybe one day we'll break even, but no, we're actually losing money, which is fine. It's not about.
It's not about the money. It's about what needs to be said and told. That's right.
Yep. Calling all hybrids, UFO and ET contact. All right. So I just wanted to bring that up because he didn't get a chance to talk about it. But yeah, thanks guys for joining us. I'm sorry we had so much technical difficulties. We're going to have him back at some point because he does have more to share.
Yep.
And I thought he was an excellent guest. And judging from the comments that you guys are
Yep. And
sharing with us.
I got to move it now. Okay. So thank you for coming to see us on the Light Gate. We're going to work out kinks one way or the other, no matter what. And we're coming to you from New Orleans, from the beautiful city that is a representative of the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network 105.3. We want to thank Roku. We want to thank Tumblr. We want to thank YouTube and Facebook for allowing us to be on their platforms. I want to thank our wonderful leader, Joe Montaldo, and Michelle DeRoche. And we're going to sign off now. So this gets put into the archives. Do look it back up and watch again. Thank you very much, everybody, and good night.
Thank you.